We're going swimming, my brother and I. We're going swimming with our best friend. We're going to swim in the canal, even though it's very cold and dirty. My brother and I run down the towpath. We're happy to be running because we don't get taken out as often as we used to.
Come on.
Best friend seems to have less time these days.
Come in.
Never been down this way before.
Come here.
Usually we go where there's more people.
Good.
Now we're stopping. Suddenly my brother and I don't feel like swimming anymore. It's very cold. Very cold. So cold, our best friend puts us in a sack to keep us warm. I hope he doesn't slip, because it'd be very difficult to swim in this small sack.
Bad is the only explanation. I must have done something very bad to deserve this. I've been locked in, without food or water, by my best friend. Let me go. Please. I won't do it again. Whatever it was that I did. I'm so thirsty. I don't want to be let go now. Just a drink will do. But have I been so bad that I can't have a drink? Tired now. Don't need anything anymore. Only sleep. Just like to see my friend once more. To say sorry for the terrible thing that I did. Wonder what it was.
Yeah, this is my second tag for the list because they are very much kind of the same. Although I have to say that Yard is a little more brutal because it just knocks you down right from the start and doesn't let up. But then again, Swim has that element of like emotional whiplash if you don't go in not knowing what's going on. Once you figure it out and the dramatic irony kicks in, and I mean, I guess at least that dog didn't have to suffer for as long as the other one. The poor dog oh god, I don't want to think about it at all. I don't want to think about this one for too long. It's the guilt trip. It makes you feel horrible for being a human. It makes me feel horrible for being a human because I love dogs. You know this, Ed, if you saw my reaction to that other that nice PSA with the dog. And I mean, it's not like I was planning on doing this thing anyway. That's not why it's effective. It's effective because it's more of a call to action, I guess, and a guilt trip, like I said before. And it's not scary per se. The scare factor is probably like a 4 or a 5, but it doesn't have to be scary. It's worse than scary. It's too real. It's much too real.
I had my first cigarette when I was 13. When I found out how bad it was, I tried to quit. But I couldn't. They say nicotine isn't addictive. How can they say that?
I had a lot of friends. I was a cheerleader. I was on the homecoming court. If I smell it, you see teenagers smoking. Because I started smoking when I was a teenager.
You can quit. For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
I promise this is the final tie on the list, but I couldn't really put one higher than the other because, of course, they are the same in the same sort of vein, both amazingly powerful ads from these amazingly inspiring advocates against smoking. The Debbie Austin ad, I think it's probably the most iconic anti-smoking ad of all time, probably. And Terry's ads are part of a series, and I believe she did keep making them up until like a few days before she died, which is just incredible to me, and makes these absolutely unforgettable. I am not a smoker myself, and I never, ever, ever will be, mostly for these reasons. from PSAs, but yeah, I do know a couple people who do smoke, and it's not I mean, I guess it's not my business, but I really want to show them these ads just to be like, oh God, I wish you knew what you were in for when getting into this, and I really hope you're able to stop. And for the scare factor for these, it's hard to say because I don't want to say they're scary because that sounds kind of mean, but if we're saying scary as in like the scare you straight sort of scary, then I'd have to give these around a 7, maybe an 8, depending on how young you are. Like if you're a young kid, this would probably be like an 8 or a 9. When you're a little older, it's a little more like somber than scary. So yeah, this one I'd say give it what you will. Yeah. This is another repeat from my top 10 list, and I already explained all the reasons I love it over there, so if you haven't watched that, go ahead and check that out so you can hear me gush about it and babble about mental health awareness. So I won't repeat myself, but this list is about effectivity and not my personal taste, and I'm glad to say that this one is definitely effective. I've seen like 3 other people who have this one on their top 10 list as well, and I think it's just really because it pulls off the twist ending so perfectly that it can't not stick with you. And for the scare factor, I'll give it a 5 because if you're not expecting the ending, it will hit you hard. I honestly have no words for this one. I mean, as with the ad itself, I have no words. I think I just need to let it speak for itself. It's one of those ads where all you can do afterwards is just kind of sit there in silence and just go like, oh, shit. Like, wow. And you just get chills, and yeah, that's all I can say. Scare factor, I guess if this is, I don't know if this is a real person, but if it is, personally, I'd give this one probably like an 8. But, I mean, if you go higher or lower, I can see that too, but it just hits me every time.
I am the spirit of dark and lonely water, ready to trap the unwary, the show-off, the fool. And this is the kind of place you'd expect to find me. But no one expects to find me here. It seems too ordinary. But that pool is deep. The boy is showing off. The bank is slippery. The show-offs are easy. But the unwary ones are easier still. This branch is weak, rotten. It'll never take his weight. Only a fool would ignore this. But there's one born every minute. Under the water there are traps, old cars, bedsteads, weeds, hidden depths. It's the perfect place for an accident.
Oh, look, there's someone in the water. Quick, use that big stick to get him out.
Sensible children. I have no power over them.
Oi, mate, that's a stupid place to swim. Hey, go over and get that thing to wrap him in. You don't have to feel cold, mate. How long was you in there? Ew, what thing?
I'll be back.
I mean, of course this one's on the list. How can it not be? It's quintessential to any classic PIF list. It's pretty much required viewing, I think, for anyone who considers themselves a PIF PSA enthusiast. So I doubt I have to explain what makes this one so memorable and so goddamn good. It's 40 years, like 40 plus years. This one has been scaring the shit out of kids. I doubt it's on TV anymore. In fact, I'm willing to say it's not on TV anymore, but thank God for the internet, because you can just show kids this. So obviously it is way before my time, but apparently, from what I've heard, it did work back then. So that's just proof that the scare them shitless approach to public information can actually work when it's done right. And so for a scare factor, I'll give it an 8.5. I'll give it an 8.5. Alright, here is the thing. My number 5 choice is actually the interactive water safety PSA, Sortie en Mer. I'm sure I said that absolutely horribly, but it's better known as Drowning Simulator. I hear a couple of confused protests out there, but technically this is a PSA, so it's not cheating. It's a PSA, it just wasn't made for television. And that's a good thing, because making it interactive made it so much better. Like, I don't think you could put this on TV. There's no way to, like, get the full experience just by watching it, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but making it a playable game, guaranteed, that lets players would catch wind of it and play it for their audiences all across YouTube. So yes, this is partially on the list just because it scared Markiplier so bad, and I think it's hilarious. But even without that slight personal bias, this thing is freaky, and it makes me absolutely certain to wear a life jacket around the water anytime I'm on a boat, even though the only time I'm really on a boat is when I'm with my family at the lake, and I don't think the lake is going to kill you as much as the ocean would, and I can swim, but still. I mean, still, the guy has fingers, ugh. If you haven't played the game, then go watch the game, because it can range in length, so that's why I can't, like, put the whole thing on here, because I think the full thing's like 8 minutes long, and I'm not doing that. But go watch a video, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. I think Peachy has it on her channel. Oh yeah, and a scare factor. Geez, it depends on how scared you are of the water. If you're scared of the water, this one would probably be a 9 or a 10. If you're less scared of the water, probably a 6 or a 7. Personally, I'd give it about a 7.
Happy birthday to you.
Make a wish. Granny.
Hello.
Have you done your homework?
Ada.
For a general strike.
Ready or not? Here it comes.
Violent clashes with live ammunition against.
Deserve to get shot.
Have a nice day, Mum.
Airstrikes on rebel position.
We are going to stay.
Tablet.
Go.
Heavy fighting in Richmond.
Dad, where are we?
Rebel forces advance.
Well, this one I just consider a genius piece of filmmaking, let alone public information films. I know a lot of people are probably just happy to be ignorant to this kind of thing, and I'd be lying if I said that I stayed as informed about these kind of situations as I should. I know that I probably don't, and that's probably why I put this one on the list, besides the obvious reasons, is because it is a reminder. It's a very good reminder that people in these situations, children especially, seeking refuge, like, they are you. They are us. These are your children. These could be they might as well be your children. It can happen to anyone, and they deserve just as much help as anybody else in that situation would. They don't deserve to be there, and I have absolutely no shame and no bars in saying that. I absolutely believe in refugee care, especially for children. And scare factor, frankly, it really doesn't matter for this one. It's not trying to scare you, it's trying to open your eyes. And so I'm not going to put a scare factor on it. If you think it's scary, okay, but that's not really the point, is it?
That's right, I'm going to make my lunch and I'll make your lunch too.
I need to do like 2 every metre, is my understanding.
Chris? Chris? Yes.
Don't forget your speed.
Come on, Dad.
Be there in a minute.
Chris, have you had any alcohol drink today?
I don't have a pulse.
Just had a couple of beers.
The preliminary breast test indicates that your breast contains alcohol. There's one other thing, I'm not sure whether you're aware. Are you aware that the young fella has in fact died? Are you aware of that, were you, Chris?
So I know that Think has their own version of this one called Live With It, with the one with the redhead kid. And that one's very good as well. And it really does come down to personal taste when deciding which one of the two is more effective. And personally, I find that this one works better for me because it tells more of a story, and I appreciate that. And I think the use of the passage of time, like sort of not going backwards, the flashback and then moving forward, I think that's very effective and clever and poignant and just everything it should be. And I also think that the Live With It's choice to make the dead kid look like a dead kid and less like a ghost, that comes off as just a tiny bit narmy to me, just like this dead kid. I don't know. It's just a little strange to me. And I like that this kid is more of like a ghost. And I just think it's beautifully done, and I think it's extremely powerful. And the one and only thing that keeps it from being a perfect 10 out of 10 is that the snarky kind of tagline at the end. But what are you going to do? That's more of a nitpick thing. And this one's not really scary. I'd probably give it like a 4.5 or something like that. It's on the low end, but again, that's not the point of this one. It's telling a story, and I like it. I just really like it a lot. Well, I'm a time traveler. It has actually been about a week since I've last recorded for this video, partly because I'm a procrastinator and partly because this was just a tough fucking decision to make. I have only been able to decide the top two like just recently and only after consulting a couple other PIF experts. So thank you to Hello I'm a Pizza and EA Sports Big 899 for their input. And yeah, it really was this hard of a decision because there are just so many effective PSAs and PIFs out there that it was just really hard for me to narrow it down to the top two. One is short and sweet and classic and kind of a crowd favorite, and the other one is an unconventional choice, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to spoil anything, except I do have to amend something I said earlier. Ghost Chips is no longer the only comic relief on this list. So.
Dad!
Make your plan. Get out alive.
I don't even need to explain this one. I mean, do I? Imagine seeing this on TV at night. I feel bad for all the kids who did. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I know I wouldn't. I never really realized how terrified I was of being burned alive in my sleep until I saw this thing. We don't have many fire safety PIFs or PSAs over here, and this one is just, it pulls no punches. And the irony of this one, of course, compared to the other fire kills ones, is the fact that these people do indeed have a working smoke alarm. They just forgot, you know, everything else. Also, who the fuck keeps a bicycle in the hallway? That bothers me every time. I guess maybe if you live in an apartment or whatever, but oh well. Yeah, I mean, you guys know. This one is definitely a classic nightmare fuel. So that's why it gets a scare factor of 9, and I don't think you can argue with that. And yeah. All right, let me preface number 1 by saying, please don't be disappointed. That's a great way to introduce it. You will not have seen this particular PSA on TV. It's another one where I'm kind of cheating because it's not made for television or anything. But I'm really not because it's awesome, and PSAs can come from all sorts of different forms of media, and that includes crudely animated YouTube videos. So with that being said, finally, here's number 1.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, fuck yes, I would fucking love a cup of tea, thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes, please. That's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
No, I'm not kidding. This is my number one choice. And it's not just because I wanted to throw a curveball and make number one a little less predictable. That's part of the reason. But the main reason I put this one on here is because I heard about it in the real world first before I saw it online. And that is a rare thing for a PSA to be able to do. The way I heard about it was my family was having a holiday dinner, and I don't remember what the conversation was, but my aunt brought up this video, and one of my little cousins, he's not quite 6 years old at the time I'm recording this, he started quoting the video. He started talking about how some people like tea and some people don't, and then my aunt explained to us that the video, what it was a metaphor for, and everybody was kind of laughing because it was cute, it was fun. But I'm just sitting there thinking, that's genius. I mean, it's such a good way just to, I'm gushing about it right now because I think it's brilliant. I mean, do 6-year-olds know about the complications of sexual relations? Of course not. But they understand the concept of the video perfectly. I mean, granted, my cousin he is a very smart kid. And I think kids are generally smarter than we give them credit for. But if kids can understand this stuff, then anybody can. Anybody should be able to. And I guess maybe the part of the humor in it comes from the fact that it is kind of absurd, but that's the point. It's an absurdly simple concept, and I applaud whoever came up with this. And it just does everything that a good PSA should do, and yet so many fail to do. It gets people's attention. It addresses a very important concept. It's not preachy. It puts it in a light. It doesn't oversimplify it, but it puts it in a relatable light where anybody can understand it, even kids. And it's funny, and it's not scary, and it's just really good, and it's clever as fuck, and I love it. And I'm sorry if you're disappointed with this one. Yell at me if you will. But you will be remembering this PSA more than generic road safety shock fest number 37. So yeah, that's why this one is number one. And that concludes my top 20 most effective PSAs list. This was a long one to make. Hopefully it didn't get too boring or anything. But thank you so much for watching. And let me know what other type of PSAs you want me to review in the future, or a countdown list you want me to do, or if you have one you want me to react to, maybe. Do you like my shirt, by the way? I love this thing. But yeah, subscribe if you want, leave a like, and see you guys next time. Bye.